Because I'm audio with lots of me. Speedpaints here. Coming to the video. In this video, I am going to be doing my new video in which I take different abilities from different anime characters. That was depending on a video series I found from a YouTuber. Pretty much 7 different portals, 4 different paths. At the end of each path, you gain a new companion, power, ability, or whatever from each one. And I took it, and I actually took it, and I wrote down everything from it. And I had my friend Kaylee take it as well. And I did both her and my god OCs depending on these abilities. So let's see how these gods turn out. Without further ado, let's roll intro, let's get into the video, and let's go. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. With there being so many different types of religions, there are down to be some religions that have, blended God's powers together. There's different gods, different religions, and all that. But some of them have had powers merge with other ones or very similar power sets, or the completely different power sets, or literally taking aspects of different gods and forming them into one new god, which is the case of 2 gods I'm going to be going over today. These first new, well, technically only 2 gods. I couldn't find much on the other ones. So, yeah. Anyways, this first one is a newer god that came out around 500 years ago. And due to these not being under any select pantheon or category of gods, they are pretty wild, unpredictable, and hard to actually, catalog and get information on. But I've done my best to gain this information on these 2. First one of today is Arthenos. Arthenos is a major god of power, defense, creation, and travel and teleporting. Minor god of snakes, toxin resistance and immunity, and time. He was originally human that had actually worshipped different gods from different pantheons. Some gods, like the god known as Deku from the MHA pantheon, along with some other gods I haven't talked about, like the god of electricity, the god of snakes, Manda, and the god of teleportation that had the ability to cause instant travel. But with all these gods, he has actually gained their powers. He has worshipped them so much, with him eventually gained so much power, that he had actually become a god himself when he died. You see, each time a god gives a follower powers, they permanently keep the powers unless they stop worshipping the gods altogether. And it is quite difficult to do that. Now, some gods usually give them powers, or a part of them. Gods have a stupidly high regeneration, so they can literally pull off an eyeball and give it to someone for them to replace their eye with to gain a power from them. Some gods have to do that, but the god that had the power of instant transmission was a minor god of teleporting. Well, technically a major one. And let's just say there were other gods like Dio that he worshipped, which were evil gods. He more or less decided to focus on the powers he decided that were relatively interesting about them. And that's pretty much how he became this type of god. But he's also, has gotten the powers of other gods by striking a deal with him in his godhood. He has struck a deal with the god known as, was the Warhammer Titan god, and the god of lightning from the Devil Fruit Pantheon, or Devil Fruit Pirate Pantheon, whatever the title is. Now, those gods are relatively interesting, but he has talked and made deals with so many gods that he has eventually gained multiple powers from each one. But by far, some of his most powerful abilities come from the Warhammer god, the lightning god, and the god known as Deku. Because with this, he can increase his strength and speed, create weaponry, and as well as, generate and transform into lightning. So, by far, he is an extremely powerful and dangerous individual. But that doesn't stop people from worshipping him and gaining one of his many or all of his abilities. They actually become minor gods of Arthenos when they die, most of the time. Let's move on to the next one. This next one is a, interesting. Well, a little bit more interesting. This one is Athrix. Athrix is a relative to Arthenos. He, in his past life, was born to a cult of really interesting people. He was born to a cult that worshipped Perfect Cell God. Perfect Cell God is what people refer to as the quote-unquote perfect God. He is from the Dragon Ball Pantheon. He is not a perfect god. He is a corrupt, power-hungry individual that constantly is egging on multiple other gods to fight for him to come in and swoop in and say that he stopped the fight. Stuff like that. Arthrix, being Arthenos' cousin, funny enough. Arthenos' mother and father were both part of this cult at one point, but they worshipped a different god, which is how they managed to leave that cult. Well, they did worship Perfect Cell God for a while, but when they found out that Arthenos' mother was pregnant with him, they left, leaving Arthrix behind in the care of his parents. And let's just say, in one ceremony while worshiping their god, they nearly sacrificed him to him, but he was given a blessing by this god. The god was seeing the error of his ways somehow, and weirdly enough, but he gave him the blessing of his tail. The tail blessing is by far the most powerful and sought-after blessing of the Perfect Cell God. He has also given him some other abilities, but they just play into more of his other more powerful abilities. Arthrix after he died, reformed back into his prime years and became the major god of the mind, barriers, knowledge, and the Monkey King, because he'd actually gained a monkey companion that later turned out to be someone who worshipped the Monkey King. Well, a monkey human-ish hybrid among the human that gained the blessing of the Monkey King follower from Enma. He eventually, when he died, he had become, funny enough, an aspect of Enma. But after a while, they fused together and became this god. But he also is a minor god of protection, alchemy, power, monkeys, absorption, and other powers. Well, multiple powers, because the perfect self's tail. He also, due to being the minor god of protection, he has the ability to produce barriers. Now, I know you might be thinking, how can he be a major god of barriers, but also a minor god of protection? Isn't type barriers a type of protection? Well, for him, barriers are something he can erect either on him or anywhere else. He can also form them into weaponry, or he can use them as squishing into a pancake. As you can see, barriers can be used to do a lot of things. But with protection, it is a very broad version. Minor gods of protection are very interesting in the fact that they can control and give blessings relatively easily. And you can actually either gain a temporary blessing or permanent blessing from them, depending on how devoted you are to them. But there are some that can't really give out any blessings, for the record. But by far, the god that gave him this one, well, the one that gave him the ability of knowledge, power, and all that, he gets that from Edward from the FMA, or from the Alchemist Pantheon. There are other powers, but that's all for today. Well, there are other gods in this one, but that's all for today. Sorry. I enjoyed today's video because I'm afraid that's all the time I got for today. Until next time, subscribe to Adrian, spark us on me, or to my slash. Goodbye and peace out, everyone.